Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kat, and today I'm doing the biggest surprises that I have read in 2020. So these are mostly books where I had low or no expectations and they exceeded expectations or totally blew me away. And I was really pleasantly surprised by them and recommend them. So I have this top 10, so let's start off with 10 and make our way down to 1. Number 10 is So You've Been Publicly Shamed by Ronson. When I picked this up, I wasn't expecting much of it. This was going to be my nonfiction read before bed to try to ease me into being sleepier and try to ward off any insomnia I have. But actually, I ended up reading this in a day and a half. I could not put it down. I found it completely fascinating. So Ronson is following different people who have made social media faux pas, and he follows the fallout of what has happened to them and the different ways that how they dealt with the incident led to them either being exonerated in the public eye or forever shunned. I found this very interesting, especially since this was written kind of before our social media omniscient state right now. So I think that this book is a very interesting kind of time capsule warning of what might happen to you and what is currently happening to so many people online. Number 9 is Ghost Girls by Cath Ferla. This is about an ESL teacher in Sydney, Australia, who is teaching in one of her schools when one of her students jumps out of the window and commits suicide, plummeting to the ground below. And when she goes down to see the student that had jumped, she realizes that that was not indeed her student. And then she tells the school that she doesn't actually know who that young girl is who jumped. And the school is very adamant that that is the girl that she's been teaching for the last year and a half. And of course, the teacher knows what her student looks like, so she starts to delve deeper into why they may have switched and all about people smuggling and prostitution and the sex industry and how people who come to Australia or any country really on a visa are very vulnerable to bad situations in order to maintain their life here and also make money to send home to their families. Not to mention, this had absolutely amazing discussions about food. This made me want the Chinese food in here so bad. And it actually says that the author has a specific love for Sichuan province's ginger, chili, and garlic flavors. And it definitely comes through in this book. It made me so hungry and made me want to go visit China and eat those dishes. Number 8 is Rabbit, a memoir by Patricia Williams, also known as Miss Pat. This is definitely one of the best memoirs I have ever read. So Miss Pat goes from being in a family that isn't really caring for her as a young woman, then she gets pregnant, then she has to make money for her own young family, and she starts selling drugs, and then kind of being a bit of a drug crime lord, and then she ends up going to prison, and then after that, she becomes a comedian. So there's just so much going on. It read a lot like a comedy action movie, I guess, and just her way of telling her own story is absolutely brilliant. So if you like memoirs and, I don't know, you want kind of a memoir that is both real and also terribly, terribly funny, then I highly recommend this. Number 7 on this list, I was honestly not expecting to be as surprised and love as much as I was. This is Friday Black by Kwame Adjei-Brenyah. This is a short story collection that I think I picked up for Black History Month in February. And I wasn't expecting to like it because they're short stories. And short story collections are really hard to get all of the stories be consistent and on the same level. However, this reads like Black Mirror episodes that are episodically continuous, I guess, on theme, but so unique and interesting. So some of the different stories deal with dystopian Americas, which they're written as dystopians, but you could very well see them being happening like present day. It's talking a lot about capitalism, about racism, about systemic oppression, and all within kind of this Black Mirror-esque writing style. So if that sounds at all interesting to you, I highly recommend this. I also love the cover to bits, and I will be reading more from this author for sure. Number 6 on this list is Earthlings by Sayaka Murata, who is the author of Convenience Store Woman. So for me, Convenience Store Woman was kind of a quiet but horrifying novel about capitalism and oppression of young people, but also specifically women and their bodies and their role in society. And Earthlings took that trajectory and just like went with it, like went all the way with it. It had a lot to comment on about modern Japanese society, such as place in the workforce, place in greater society, place as a woman, place as a breeding vessel, people who don't fit in, such as hikikomori, who are like shut-ins, people who don't want to have children, or people who want to come forward after sexual abuse but can't. And the way that it described this was like through an alien dissociative lens. It was truly so surprising, and I was totally caught off guard. I think everyone that read this book was completely caught off guard. The themes are continued on from Convenience Store Woman, but the way in which they are explored is both more overt and more abstract at the exact same time. I know I'm not making sense, you just have to read it to see for yourself. Number 5 on this list is Radiance by Grace Draven. This one completely caught me off guard because it has one of the best romances I have ever seen done, where the basis is not a sexual or physical attraction, and then the relationship strengthens over time. So this is a fantasy world where we're following 2 people, and one is basically, you can think of them as like a human race, and then the other one is, I guess, a monster race, and they have like gray skin, yellow eyes, black talons, and both countries want to have a marriage which can basically align them and strengthen their trade agreement. They first meet and they don't know who the other is, and they're just basically like being super honest and roasting the other one playfully, but they are absolutely not at all attracted to the other one. It is so perfectly plotted and paced that I so highly recommend it. Like, they go from being very respectful towards each other in the beginning because they want this allegiance to work. For mutual respect, they start to fall in love with one another, and then things kind of go from there. So it completely surprised me, and I will absolutely be reading the next in the series. Number 4 on this list is another romance, but it is probably the most surprising romance that I have read all year. This is Earth Fathers Are Weird by Gala. So basically there is a pilot named Max, Captain Max, and suddenly aliens appear over Iowa and they're having this huge battle, and he flies up with the Air Force to try to shoot down the ships. But what they don't realize is that the aliens are squabbling like amongst themselves. Like, one is an intergalactic pirate ship and the other one is the intergalactic police, and they don't care at all about Earth. But because Max gets caught up in the fracas, they take him and they drop him off at a like random intergalactic kind of port, and he has to find a way to make money to get back to Earth. So he decides that he's going to take a job that pays enough. So the job that he ends up taking is to work as a nanny for this kind of cephalopodic alien. And when he arrives, there is some miscommunication, and instead of a nanny, what it translates to as a surrogate. So he ends up being implanted with the aliens' babies. Alien implantation thing was a very, very small part, like super small. And then the rest is about the development of their relationship, and also like once the babies are born, like they're little tiny like squid aliens. And then there is like some action and some intrigue and them raising the little ones. And I like cried reading this novel like twice. So it was very surprising to me because I was not expecting to like it as much as I did, like at all. And I was very shocked by how attached I was to the characters. And yeah, so Complete surprise to me. Had no idea that that was going to be as heartwarming as it was, but I am not alone. Like, everyone on Goodreads thinks that this is also adorable and so heartfelt and will make you cry. So if that is at all your jam, definitely go for it. Number 3 is the Mindfuck series by St. Abby. The covers are abominable. Like, please don't judge it based on the covers. Basically, our main character is a female killer who has been plotting to get her revenge on people who sexually assaulted her and her family 10 years ago. So she has been planning this for over 10 years, and she has been training, and she has like a kill room and a weapons room in her house. When she's at a cafe and she meets this guy and she hits it off with him, and lo and behold, he is the FBI agent who's trying to piece together her serial kills throughout different states, and things go from there. I highly recommend this series. It is so good. It doesn't take itself too seriously, even though this has some of the most like gruesome torture scenes ever. Definitely not for the faint of heart. So it's more like a gory revenge with some romance. Definitely, it's not like just straight romance. She's getting her revenge, and it is going to be really bloody and explicit. So if that's not your thing, definitely don't read it, but I loved it, and I loved the ending. I thought that it was the perfect ending, and yeah, I highly recommend it despite the cover. It is absolutely so worth it. It completely surprised me, and I've never read anything like it. Yeah, we love that, and it's definitely, if you liked Killing Eve, you would like this. I'm sad that they're not both women, but we can't have everything. Number 2 on this list is Trail of Lightning by Rebecca Roanhorse. This took me by complete surprise. I got it one day to walk around the neighborhood with, and I fell completely in love with the story. So we're following Magdalena Mags, who is a monster hunter, and this is the world of the Dineta, where different people in the clans are given certain powers from the original gods. And this is also set in a world where global warming and flooding has created different pockets of like habitable areas, and one of the areas is a reservation where Maggie lives and also hunts down monsters. And throughout this world, there are also so many Dineta like legends and creatures and kind of myths that Roanhorse explores, and I just found it really fascinating, and I'm really grateful that I listened to it on audio because all of the pronunciations were, I'm assuming, correct, and I know that for a fact if I'd read it, I would have had no idea how to pronounce different things. This book completely surprised me, and it's by far my favorite audiobook I've ever listened to, one of my most surprising reads of the year, and if you want to check it out, I highly recommend you listen to it because it was phenomenal. And my absolute hugest surprise of the year is Dog Boy by Eva Hornung. So this one came out of nowhere. I had zero expectations for this. I just picked it up because it sounded interesting. I think I picked it up at the beginning of the year. And you are set in winter in Russia, and there is a young boy who, I think he's 3 or 4, and he is abandoned by his family. They just leave one day and never come back. And he is desperately hungry for food. He's freezing, and he will die if he doesn't find some help. And then he happens to see a dog, and he follows the dog, and the dog takes him in as one of her own puppies, and then he survives the winter with her and the other puppies. But that is just the beginning. So after he survives that winter, he actually stays with the pack and grows up alongside them, working out his own place in the hierarchy and helping them find food in different ways that humans are more suited for. And then people in the town start to realize that there is a dog boy who is running around with this pack of feral dogs, and the police are out to get him, and scientists want to study him. And this book absolutely broke my heart into a million smithereens. It had one of the most devastating endings of all time. I remember everything about this book so clearly. This is absolutely like if you crossed Perfume by Patrick Suskind, where it is so visceral with like any book about a dog. This book is so good, and I don't know why more people aren't talking about it. I don't know why I've never heard of it before, but this completely blew me away, came from nowhere, and it is in my top 10 of the year. So not only was it a huge surprise, and I got it from a thrift store for like nothing, but also it completely blew me away, devastated me, made me cry, made me basically think that the message of this entire book is we don't deserve dogs, which is absolutely true as a dog mom. Yeah, so I highly recommend this. Cannot push it into your hands enough. I think everyone should read it, and that's all I'm gonna say about that. So, what are the books that most surprised you in 2020? Let me know down below. I would love to chat. And 2 videos upcoming are my best dark and weird books of 2020, and then my best all-time books of 2020, including all genres. So look forward to those, and I will chat to you soon. Bye!